I think a starting point is to try to tell what structure is all about. I think most of us have experiences of that the society that we are a part of is having a very old idea about that we are very different as human beings depending on what gender we have. One, there is an idea that we only have two specific gender, although everyone knows, or at least scientists knows, that it isn't like that. You know, gender is something not so specific. It's a kind of, you can make it up on a line. Sometimes you have these things going out, and sometimes it goes in, and sometimes it's not so clear. So we have to make it possible for people to identify yourself on this scale. But the common idea in the world, global, is that you only have two gender, and they are the foundation. And the next idea is that you have to be clear about this from the very beginning, so you have to have people apart. You have to make signals that a girl or a woman is like this and a man and a boy or is like that, and we are very different. But we are going to make signals on that all the time, which is the first step to make it possible to understand something that one gender is more worth than the other. And this idea we see in the society all over, in all relations, all the time, from the very intimate relation to the international relations. The idea of dominance, the idea of patriarch thinking, the idea of discrimination. You can see it in your daily life, in your nearly relations. You can see it in the society, on the labor market. You can see it in the militarism and in the international relations. And we are a part of that because we are born into this system. So what we can do is to try to be aware of that it looks like this. And we could try to put words on what is happening and to tell what is happening, to make it visible, because that is the only way that we can work with changing. But I think a very important experience is, or consciousness about this, is that this is structure, which means it's on a society level. It's nothing that you can clear out on at the kitchen table. You can't make these changes that are needed yourself. It's not a kitchen table question. It's structure, and when you have structural problems in the society, you have to meet that with structural reforms, which means politics. You can't go any other way, which means that it's a continuous work that has to go on. And for myself, I think a very good mental process is to be in different level all the time. Because if I only was in the private sector, I would be so frustrated, so I will have a diagnosis, I think. So then it's very good to be on the structural level and to work with politics, because when you have both, it's easier to be creative with your frustrations.
Very good speak.
So let's hear
Yes.
But I think that a structure, I think even though you're aware what a structure is, I think it can hurt sometimes, because we have a belief that we are free people and we can trust our thoughts and our feelings. But I have realized that I cannot trust my feelings and my thoughts. I am not a free person. I am a product of the society. I'm living it. And therefore I think it's a little bit, I can feel depressed sometimes when, if I'm talking about this with racism, for example. I'm of course not a racist, I don't want to be a racist, but I realize that I am. And that's because since I was a kid, I had grown up with ideas that make racism to grow. And that's a daily fresh work for my brain to come to be this free person. So I think structures are very dangerous, and about this structure, gender structures, it's both, as you say, a very hard work for yourself, I think, every day, every day, every day, every day. And of course, work in politics with it. But I think that it hurts to see that I'm a part of a structure. You know, this is why do I react like this?
Can you give practical examples of this daily work, both of you? Something really practical.
Yeah, but it's a little bit embarrassing. But okay,
Embarrassing.
I give it to you. No, but this with the racism, I realized that when oh no, I don't want to say this. But be kind to me. I'm working with myself. I realized that when I was younger, when a Muslim person said to me that I was a whore, this is just an example. I was very much more angry and hated this person in another way. That if a looked like Swedish person called me a whore. Because I felt like, don't come to my country with your bad women, you know. And all these things I have to work with all the time, and those people who are coming here now, the thing who made me free was I had to go back to what can we own? What can we can't own a country, we can't own what are Sweden, what are... I have to work on it all the time, because from media, from every part, you know, in the society, we separate Swedish people from other people. And when we do that, there is a problem, I think. Do you understand a little bit what I'm trying to say? As I said, I'm not so good in English, but you understand what I'm talking about? So it's very easy to say, I'm a feminist, I'm an anti-racist, but I think it's, I'm portraying, sviker, vad heter det? I am portraying the feminist every day, I think. And I'm portraying the anti-racist work every day, but I don't want to do it. Okay.
I think you are a bit hard to yourself, I must say.
So tell her what to do.
No, but I think I don't think there is. I don't think it's a good approach to blame yourself, because it takes a lot of energy from you that you need to be more creative about this process to work it out further on.
No,
It's,
actually I feel quite happy because I learn every day and I get more freedom every day. But I can never just let it down.
No, sure. It's a work. It's a work. When you asked about some practical things, you know, I'm working. And when I started to put up this feminism higher up in the political agenda, which was when I was not so very young, it was in the middle of the 90s. Many of you know that I have been in politics for a much longer time, and I entered politics not on these questions. It was more a question of economic justice, on the class question, because I am born up in a very poor family with a lot of social problems. And so this was my entry into politics, and I thought these women questions, well, you know, there's always some women groups dealing with this women question. It's not my question. And that was, and is still what it is like in politics, in many political parties. But when I understood more and more about this question, and when I also had good people around me that I worked with, that had had more of readings about this and higher consciousness. Theoretically, it was a very good combination, and I started to put this question higher up in the political debate, in the political agenda. And then some people came to me and said, but you are having lipstick, you are having high heels, you are dressed very women-like, it doesn't look like you do. At the very moment, and no, but you know, because I was also kind of leftist. I was in the Swedish Left Party. I was a party leader. My God! And I said, you are strengthening this sexism because you are dressed like a woman. You appear to be beautiful, and I said, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Because I like what I see when I look in the mirror. Yes, I do. But I had some problems with that, because what should I say? Am I making these norms again and again? And I'm still sitting here, and I still have my lipstick, and you have very short things there, and yeah, how could we manage this? And then I have realized that the freedom to be a free person is to be dressed what you like. That is a big freedom. To dress, if I want to have long leaves, or if I don't want to have makeup, or whatever I look like, I am the one that is going to decide. Of course, I can't decide that all by my own, because I also take impressions of what I see in the society.
My questions for you guys is, practically, what could we do to end the racism? Because, as you say, she would spend her energy, and everybody would spend their energy to try to fix the problem. But there is not enough space for the people in the other side to try to fix the problem. So if you cannot fix, can you then open for people like us come and then fix that problem? Because it's gonna have to find a solution.
So the question is, how can you do to quit racism?
Yeah, it's a very simple and small question. I think we have to work together, of course. In the political party where I nowadays are working, we try to work out an anti-racist policy. And we do it in Sweden. We put our demands on those who have the power to decide. And we organize people that are in Sweden from all over the world, and we try to work together with groups in other countries. That is what we do. I can't give you a simple answer on a extreme global question, but I mean the idea of racism, the idea of discrimination is the same. The structure is the same when it comes to gender, when it comes to ethnicity, functionality, sexuality, gender, identity, or whatever it is. And in all these groups you also have women that have different lives than men. So you have to have a lot of power, patterns of power that are working in the society at the same time and are working together with each other and strengthening each other. And we are, as individuals, carrying this several things at the same time sometimes. And all these things we have to work with.
And I don't think that it's possible with a world without racism when the world is capitalistic. But that's my point of view. I think it's so close to each other. When you have a system that someone has to, if you take it very simply, someone has to work for some other. It's impossible, I think.
I just, you said you're not a feminist, so, because I know we are at Nordic.
Why are you not?
No, but I have a question for you, because the word feminist, I think in Sweden it's quite easy for most of us to say I'm a feminist, but I know that my sister countries, in Denmark for example, it's really difficult for people to say they are a feminist. Could you explain what has happened here and what should happen in Denmark and our other countries to make it easier for them to call themselves feminists?
But a very simple answer is to take the word for what it is, for what it means. And it means that it should be equal between men and women in all parts of your life. And that's very simple, and it's not very hard to understand that word. So I really don't understand why other countries, or even we here in Sweden, laddar, vad heter det? Charge this word with some other stuff all the time. And that's also a part of the structure.
The reason why...
And I said it in English.
The reason why so many people are having this negative idea about feminism is because there is a lot of people that wants it to be like that, because they don't want to talk about the goal for the feminist, which is equal rights and democracy and freedom from discrimination. And instead of discussing that issue, you can always say, oh, these feminists, they hate men, and it's little bad women, and all like that. But the reason why there is a difference between Sweden and, for example, the other Nordic countries, the reason is that the question has been brought up by a political party and been put on the agenda for power in another way, and that is what is going to happen in Finland, in Norway, and in Denmark too. Because when you organize for political work, you are trying to create the power that is needed to enter into politics and to parliamentarian arenas. And then the other political parties get scared because they don't want to lose their seats. So they immediately start to talk about gender equality. And you could see that very clearly in Sweden in the last election campaign this year. Every political party started to talk about feminism, that they were feminists. And then what happened was that the word that also in Sweden was a kind of bad word, and only I think it was 10 or 12% of the population said, yes, I'm a feminist. It raised into 47% in September 2014 that said, yes, I'm a feminist. And all the political parties said, yes, we are feminists, we don't need a new party. And we had, after that, a government that addressed themselves as a feminist government. What now this is, we don't know. But I mean, it legalized the word, and we took the word back, I would say. So you have to work for it, and it's always about power, because this question is about power.
And the word, yeah, I will just say very quick, sorry. The word was from the beginning, skällsord. Hjälp mig.
A bad word.
Knock word. Mock. It was from the beginning a mock word for women who didn't behave like women should. And then 1897, I think, the women took it back officially. So long time ago it has been a real bad word. So it started as a bad word.
I think also that it's needed that you understand that feminism is the analyze. It's how you analyze the power structures in the society out from gender. That is the feminist analyze. The goal where we are heading for is equality.
Exactly.
So it's not that we are going to have a feminist society. We are going to have a society that shows respect from human rights, whatever you are from or whoever you are, which means equal rights. So it's the analyze, it's the ideologic platform that has to be worked out from this feminist analyze.
Yeah, my name is Aya. I'm a painter and I'm a feminist. And I'd like to bring it back to A-rated and feminism within movies and television. Like a lot of female characters. When you think of a character, in movies or film they have a lot of power. Because nowadays television and media is just gone everywhere. So we have a big wave of opportunity to create within the feministic point of view characters. And recently they have been like Amy Schumer and like, but it's also very sexistic, but it's humor, so everything goes. But I mean, like with film and television, you can create space for women to feel safe, like they're a part of a movement or something. I want to bring it back to A-rated, like talk about film and television and female characters.
So you want them to?
Yeah, talk about that.
So the question is, can you please talk a little bit about characters, film and television, and what you see and what you want?
Oh, it's so sad to see. I think, you see, I think it's a very big question, but still you can see every film that the women part should be I'm an actor, and it's a common truth in my branch that when you're over 40, like 35, 40, there is no jobs. And then the jobs comes back when you're 65, because then you can play a grandmother. So very many parts still in the big theaters, you play someone who is in a relation with some man. You are someone's daughter, you are someone's wife, you are someone's mistress, you are some, and it's still quite bad in the theater branch. I can say the film and television, I think it's quite the same. Of course, it gets better every year. I saw a film the other day called Vuxna människor. And when it came in the 90s, it was quite a fresh film. It got quite a good reviews, and it was a totally catastrophe when I saw it.
What was the catastrophe?
The genius part.
Tell us about it.
I don't know, but it's so boring. It was like men talking about what women like in bed, and the women were just talking about how they should get their men loving them. It was catastrophe from the beginning to the end. And I was very happy, because then I realized it has happened very much in those 15 years. So it's moving forward, but it's very much to do in that. You can just go and see everything, but I think it's getting better. But look at our film movie stars here in Sweden, how young the girls are and what they look like. It's not a coincidence.
Well, I'm not in that area, so I really don't know, but I think...
Maybe I could ask you a question, because A-rating has been criticized for not being serious. They say it's... there are some critics, they say it's a very bad way because it says nothing about the film's quality.
Yeah.
And from WIFT we used to say it's a good way to make a structure visible.
Yeah.
Two women that talk with name, that talk with... Yeah, so what do you say when it comes to making...
I think it's a good way, and I think always statistics to count heads has always been a good way, because it makes, as you say, it makes the structures visible, and then you can have that as a platform to start from to discuss other things. And I know that this has meant something, that this test has been written about and used. I know that, and I think that if you you said you can see there is opportunities to have characters, and I agree with that. If I only look upon what I see for in television, some series or so, it's more girl power or women's power in some of the characters. I think the Millennium movies, the films with what was her name?
Gina Davis.
Yeah, but I think
it has had some impact. The way of building stories around strong, smart women, but still they are young.
Yeah,
exactly.
And have a diagnosis when they are strong.
Yeah, but you know that is
this television.
that is like history. You know, when you go back and look on women's history, the way for women to get freedom was to be diagnosed.
Yeah.
If you see 17th centuries, 18th centuries, that was what happened with strong women. They were put into mental hospitals because the society couldn't stand them. Now we are out in the air, and now I think we should raise our voices and take the opportunity and go ahead with our fantastic projects.
But I think
you know and it's also about age. It's also about age.
Yeah.
I know that. I'm not very young anymore. When women are in my age, you are supposed to be more laid down, and you should look on your grandchildren, and you should read some special weekly magazines that they put in my mailbox. And I think, well, I'm going to make revolution.
Yeah.
I don't have time with these things, and I have the freedom to be on that arena. It's just a step forward.
But this with the age, it's so true. Last year I went into the climacteria. You know what that is?
Menopause.
And I was like shocked, what the fuck is happening with my body? Because no one has been talking about it, you know. And we're half the humanity who goes through this. And then I Googled to find some help. And then it was a very, you know, from the government, from the
state.
The state. And they said to me on Google, don't be depressed. You can still have a life, even though you are in the clinic. And you can still have sex, even though you get very dry down there. You can buy some products. So if you want to, don't get too depressed. And then I went very depressed. Because I felt like, what is this? So then I talked about my climacteria in my area, in my little life, constantly for 3 weeks. So I have made my little climacteria revolution, and now my friends are talking about climacteria in a whole other way, and I ate some pills for 1 year, but now I have stopped, and I feel very great.
But this is what I'm thinking, you know. Like there's so much stuff within women conversations that is not portrayed on television and film. The only things that are portrayed are very like talking about boys and relationships. But what about the relationship within yourself? Like you talk loving yourself. Like I'm not in a relationship because I'm with me. Like time for me. Like you talk about your period. You talk about climacteriet. You talk about like depressive thing happening after you had 2 children. You know, all of these really drastic scenarios which a lot of men within film, they make they portray women within their film because they're fascinated. You know, but what the fuck do they know? You know, I wanna hear about this serietecknare. She does this theme about the period, you know.
Yeah.
And it's such a Livströmqvist.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a powerful thing, you know. Like the way they do commercials about it. she's talking about this on P3 sommarpratarna. Yeah,
And she's making a theater of this too. So it's coming. It's really happening things.
Yeah.
So I don't think we should get depressed.
And this Bechdel test, you call it Bechdel.
Yes, special.
I think it's marvelous for everyone, like a home verktygslåda, toolbox to use when you when you look at films or television. Take your Bechdel test and see vuxna människor.
Do you think it was possible? Was it possible to make a Bechdel test for daily life, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, so create it, please.
What do you mean now? I don't know.
Well, if we create a Bechdel test for daily life, what would it be like?
Well, you know, you should have, you should count all the things you are doing. All the work you are doing that is not seen, that is no responsibility for. It is just to write it up or write it down,
Or you
whatever
can
you
take
want.
a newspaper and count.
Yeah, you can see on the pictures in a paper
Paper.
how many men, how many
Exactly.
women in what situations. So it's, and I think they do in many places. And it's statistics is always very good. It's very, very helpful for us.
Anna Sara left a while ago because she had to go to the airport, but she had done quite a revolution in Sweden that we share the film funding, 50% men, 50% women. But I know there's a lot of guys out there that are really sorry right now.
Absolutely, but
So what would you say to
let
those
them
guys?
be that.
It hurts to lose your power, of course, and that's I can understand them, and I can understand because when I talked earlier about this, my own structures I'm living with, it hurts when I am called privileged that I have responsibility to a lot of people outside Sweden, and of course I have responsibility because I'm living here in Sweden. But sometimes it hurts, like, but I am a woman. I've been fighting all my life, and now I am the bad guy here. And like, I think it hurts, and it should hurt, but it doesn't mean it shouldn't happen. And I think sometimes that we cannot demand that men should. Oh, great! I cannot make my movie because you are a girl and you will make it. Take it. Why? Of course they are, because it's a paradigm shift.
I think women too often has the idea of that we should be kind to men when it comes to this question. And we should try to convince them that they should be happy, because there is a lot of winning situations for men because they have the opportunity to be a human being.
Exactly.
So we should try to convince them, instead of saying, okay, because this is a question of power, someone is losing. It's not win-win system, this is a question of one is got to have more because today another group are having too much.
I think that all ways are good ways. Like the separatism has its own time, and the motsatsen, vad heter det? Including has its own time. Like, I got some critic from some feminists when I made Scum, that it was too snällt, too nice, and it was even though I was I invited men to the performance and all this, and I said I am very proud that I could come out with this play. And then it's always, of course, important that women have their own room. I mean, like, my war is like, I have decided I'm not ready right now to try to convince men, because I've been doing that for so many years. So now I close my door for some years and make my own fight. And that doesn't at all mean that, but I think the men, and this is my personally feelings right now, and it can be different in 1 year, but now I feel like you men have to, we cannot teach you everything. Do your own work, find yourself, like, because I'm very sure that everyone wins on this equal feministic society. Everyone, of course. And every man also. But I am not like, yeah. I don't have the power right now, so I'm very happy that other people have it.
Yes, we will. We have started, and it takes some time, but we will be there. And I think what is needed is to challenge on in the area of power, because those questions about women or about other discriminations has always been treated as if it was some kind of special question. So we have a group here that works with that. We have a special group for immigrants. We have a special group for women. We have it's not a part of the real politics, the real questions, the real issues. It's a kind of like this, and we have to stop with that. Exactly. And then we have to take it into what we all experiences as real, because this is very real, and we have to do that in every area. And to be able to do it, we have to address the positions where people have power. I think that there could be separatism in special groups or in special, well, for special issues and so. But when you are going to work for political reforms, you have to have a more broad approach for this, and you have to consider that all women are not feminists, because not every woman wants to change. There is a lot of women that are completely satisfied with the patriarch organization of the society. We have to realize that. And not every feminist is a woman. There are men that really want to change.
I know.
And they are growing in numbers, and they are willing to organize. And they do, for example, in Feminist Initiative. So there is a change going around. And it's also when we include questions that deals with gender, sexuality, gender identity, and when we include the questions of racism and work out anti-racism policies, it gets wider and more including, and then
yes, 2 seconds. And of course that's very important, but I can feel like when I said that I don't have the power for it now, it's like my boyfriend is a feministic man. He has helped me to direct Scum-manifestet, and when we are taking a bath, I'm always sitting on the knop, you know, the bad side of the bath. And then I one day, here in Malmö actually, asked him, what do you think, why do you think I always sit there if I am first in the bath? But if you are first in the bath, you always sit where it's nice to sit. Can you see that that's a bit of a structure? And he was like, now you're fucking crazy, you can't talk about these structures all the time. Yeah, but it is a structure, because you have been raised to take place, to see for your own good, and I've been raised, even though I'm a very tough woman, I've been raised to see that you, that I love, have a comfortable time here in the bath. And then we were fighting about this, and then he was very angry and said, but it's just a behavior, it's not a structure. And it was very good, because behaviors that comes over and over again is a structure. Yes.
Yeah. So now you make it in a different way.
Now, yeah, we're talking about it now, and that's very good, because now he says,
You have
I was sitting on the knob, I sit on the other side. So it's very good.
Or maybe you should installate a shower.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You talk about power a lot, and I would like to hear your thoughts about what is power, what could power be in another future. I'm just curious, because you work a lot about this word in your life and when you speak.
Well, there can be, power can be a lot of things, or you can have it on different levels. When it comes to many of us, I think we want to have the power to deal with our own lives, the power to work out our own lives the way we want.
Exactly.
We don't want to be dependent on someone else. That is in the very private sector. I want to be the person that I am. I don't want that any other one should tell me what to do. And to have that power is a very important question for you as a human being. But then you have different levels of power in the society, and it's very important that the whole society is represented in these different levels of power. If it is in politics, in the democratic representative prospect, or wherever it is, you should have the society that is where you can see that people can be everywhere, high up and low down, or where in different working fields and so on. It's a question of representation. It's a question of resources, also, of course, and it's a question of respect.
And on an individual, I think it's like you get the power. You have the power to allow yourself, like you said, to be lots of things. Because I realized when I was in the theater school that I can be like two things if I'm a woman. I can be strong and intelligent. But then men getting very nervous if I also love to be home baking cakes for my boyfriend. Why are you doing this? I didn't know. And it was the opposite with men in the school, because the more sides, the more colors they showed, the more interesting they went in people's eyes. If a woman in the school, the more colors she showed, the more jobbig, annoying she was. So I think it's a very, very important thing, the power of growing as a human being and not as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Applause. I have a question. In film business, when you talk about equality, if you ask often decision makers, and they say, of course I'm pro-equality, but the main goal for me is quality.
Mm.
What should you say if someone says?
It's not only there.
No? So
You have the same way of discussing everywhere. And there is the idea of that equality not is quality, which it is. And there is a lot of forskning, research that shows that without equality you don't get the quality, because you got to have a lot of differences in the process. You've got to have a lot of different experiences, different of knowledge, different in thinking into a process if you want quality. It's in filmmaking, it's in every area. It's, I mean, this is a knowledge. that a lot of people don't want to take into consideration. And we have it very, very strongly shown in the business area in Sweden, in the private enterprise, for example, in the boards of the big companies. There is this idea that you have to have a man. And you know, they are losing. And we are extremely bad on this in Sweden. And Sweden are losing on that because in other countries in Europe or in Western world, they have understood these questions. And this is in every field, in every area. Because if you don't have this different things coming in, you lose in quality.
I would like to talk about the collective memory loss of women in society that have changed society in many ways, made good deeds, had power to change things within politics, but also within art and so on. What should we do about the collective memory loss? That their story is not retold as often as men's stories. And I think that film and television has a good opportunity to tell these stories more often. Can you?
I think that would be a responsibility for the public service. Someone has to cry it out very hard that the responsibility is there. There is also a big responsibility for those that are writing the books that young people use in school. You know, the quality when it comes to these questions is, yeah, I mean, it's awful. I don't know if someone is doing something about it, but it has been brought up on the high political level. So I hope something is going to happen.
And when they do something, it's like this alibi thing. In the theater world, some years ago, we had something called provocerande. And it was like a joke. Because it was like, now we take some women dramatiker and show them for the Swedish people for 1 year, or what it was, 2 years. And I was in a play written by Victoria Benedictsson. And we had a male director, and I read his paper to the press office. And then he said, I don't want any word with women in it, or spetsprojekt, and I was very upset. Why are you doing this? But it was his way of trying to help, actually, because he said, you know, we should be in that diskbalja. Victoria Benedictsson is a dramatic person, you know. She's not a woman writer, and I think that was quite good, because this play had its attention because of its play, and it was a very good play written by this woman 100 years ago.
And this academic question that always rise: do we strengthen the old pattern by talking about them? I think you have to have that question in your head always. And sometimes you do it in one way, another time you do it in another way. But I think what we all can agree on is that statistics is really what we need, always.
Yes, hello, my name is Albert. Question for the two of you. To what extent do you think that politics should or can interfere with culture for equality?
I give that question all to you, Gudrun.
I think that politics should interfere in that way that if we say from the government, if we agree on in the Riksdagen that we would work to reach a gender equal society, then all the other issues that are dealt with, and all the other political reforms or the budget should be seen in this question. We can't just say this is what we want, but we are not going to do anything about it. So we have to put a demand on all the political areas, including culture, that you are going to work for gender equality in your area. How you do it, we are not going to decide in the parliament. But all the money that goes out from the state should go together with the ambition that we want gender equality. But you have your freedom in your different institutions to discover how you should do it, but you have to do it. So the politics is a way of making the opportunity for others to do. Do you understand how I see it?
Yeah, I understand, but I'm still wondering how, if that is a demand in general for culture.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's not only for culture, it's for the...
No, but we're talking content of film or theater or so.
Yeah, yeah.
How is that formulated from the political...
Well, if you see... You had, how is it formulated for the area of film, for example? I think you had the head of the Film Institute here before, and she has been working with this. You understand what I mean? You look like you don't know who she is. She was here before, and you know that the Svenska Filminstitutet has been working with this question by saying that when we put out money, we should look upon gender equality. It is not only men that should have money for their films. We should have equal delivery here. That is one way, for example.
May I interfere with a question, because Film Institute does a very clear job with this, but Swedish television don't. They have no goals for equality, they don't count, they have nothing, they just say, we are a public service.
Yeah.
So what's your reaction about that Swedish television don't?
I think you should, from the political side and in the board, you should demand that they have a plan. And you should raise this question.
But
absolutely.
But they are also in the structures. When I was trying to make my film, I heard from a very good person there, but this person told me, but we have to, because I wanted the film to be sent later, 1 month later, and then this person said no, because this month we have women films, so we have 2 other films, documentary films made by women, so your film should be so good there in this little, and I just, what is this? And so I think they're not aware really what it is about.
I think they are.
They do a very good thing to show 3 films made of women.
I think they are aware of what they are doing, but there is they don't want to do it. I mean, there is a resistance, and you have to realize that there is a big resistance. Not everyone wants gender equality, and especially not if it affects me. Yeah. If I have to change, I can say yes. Everyone says yes, it's absolutely, I want gender equality, absolutely. But in my situation, you know, there is a special situation, and now I have made my film here, and this film, blah, 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 which means some other time by some other one, and not so close to me. And when it comes close, when it affects you, you have a resistance. And that you see everywhere, which means that we can't continue to go around and say, yes, everyone wants gender equality. Bullshit, everyone doesn't want it. There is a resistance, and what we should do is to clear that out and to show what effects it is when we have this resistance.
I have some question here from the corner, is it lady?
I was wondering, if we achieve equal representation between women and men within film and television, what do you think is the next step?
If we get it,
Yes, representation.
but I think lots of things will happen. I think people will get more kloka, wise, more free, more happy, more bigger persons. I think it's, of course, only good.
But my question
Consequences.
is, are we finished then, or is there other
No,
things
of
we
course
need
not.
to do besides representation? That is my question.
Oh, of course not. But
I think you are very optimistic. I don't know really what you mean by equal representation in the television. If you see as many women as men in the program, I don't know. But the question of representation is about representation and not more. Because if you ask me about politics, what do you think would be the effect of an equal representation in the parliament? Is it done by that? No. What is done is equal representation in the parliament. Nothing more, because every woman that comes into parliament are not a feminist. And every man and some men that comes into parliament are.
But
So there is no situation where it goes by itself because it's equal representation. But equal representation is a good thing for democracy. It's one thing.
And I think it will, what I meant was that I think, I took some big words, but it's because I'm bad in English, but I think it will open more doors, bigger doors than we can imagine now. It should, like being a crazy world, this day you can see 50% women in the media. I think it should change more than we think.
I think we have another question here. You want to say it in Swedish?
Yeah, I can say it. Swedish or English? It's not English. My name is Toktam and I am a member for Free Party in Malmö. I have some question. It's many times or sometimes they ask, you are from Iran, you are Muslim, why you are in the Free? They can do nothing for you, and the Free is only for white people. And every time you must say that feminists have a not color is for every person, and the problem is we must every time say, okay, I am from Middle East, but the woman in Middle East or the people from Middle East, they're fighting every time. Have you, Gudrun, some good advice for us, the feminists from Middle East, and we work here, and we will doing some change also in Sweden, but also in Middle East.
Yeah, well, I think you should all organize in the feminist initiative. That's the way of organizing. I think you should take the opportunity to talk about these things. I mean, I know there is a lot of people that thinks that. I mean, that is also a way of talking shit about feminism, is to say, oh, it's only your white, it's only your West, it's only, instead of seeing that this is, that feminism could be very including. And I think you yourself make extremely important work by telling your background, by telling people that there are feminists in the Middle East. There is a lot of feminists all over the world. This is not only something that are in the Western world.
Someone from Iceland here too, so I bring over the microphone to my Icelandic.
Hello, I'm from WIFT in Iceland, and we have had a huge debate about equality in films now, and especially since our most famous director, he started saying that he wants a female quota in the film fund, and suddenly everyone was ready to listen. Something that women have been saying for generations. Now finally, another government is asking us, what can we do to change this? So I want to know, it's great to have Anna Serner, but see what happens when she goes away. I'm wondering, is there some governmental pressure? Like, how can you have an effect on the Swedish television or on official workers who are working with taxpayers' money, so that, the fight doesn't, go away if one person...
Yeah, I mean, my talking about these things, my putting demands all the time, by my building opinion about these questions, to have it high up on the political agenda when we talk about culture policies. Absolutely, we can continue with this, which means that when she leaves, there comes another one that has these demands as rolling. I think what you said, that when there was a man talking about this, suddenly everyone listening. This is a phenomenon that is very good illustration on what is structure. Because when a man is talking about these things, people say, "Oh yes, yeah, oh that was very important." When men says what women have said for 100 years. Suddenly, we had in Sweden a special ämbete, a special position for a person that was on the state's behalf of the state, worked with gender equality. Before it's not there anymore. There have been women all the time, and then suddenly there came a man, and he was a lawyer, and suddenly everyone was talking about gender equality, and he was in the television, he was in the radio, he was abroad, and everything. What a fantastic man, and what important questions he was talking about, and really this is something. And he said what a lot of women before him had said, and when he quit, there was a new woman, no one listened anymore. And it was such an illustration of this, that men are listening to men and women are listening to men.
And also, even women, like, now I need, before I say this, help with what do you call omdebatterat och omtalat? It's two different words. Can someone help me?
Well debated and well talked about.
Yeah. Like in a paper when they were talking about this play, Scum-manifestet, the main director and me was mentioned in the same article. And it was women who wrote it. And then when she was writing the main director's name, it was the epithet, the hyllade, the celebrated director of the omtalade,
the well-known
Scum-manifestet. And later in the same article, I was mentioned. The threatened actor Andrea Edwards in the debated play Scum-manifestet. So the same play had two different epithets in the same article, but one was in with my name and one was with the male name, and it was very, very like, I'm sorry I didn't save it because it was so very clear then. So I called her up and she was like, "Are you crazy?" first, but then she understood and apologized.
We are almost finished. Do we have any more questions?
I would like to ask, because now we've been talking about structures and also getting tired and frustrated from living in the structures. So how do you encourage women to kind of challenge this in their daily lives?
I always say organize. Don't be alone, organize. And it's unreal, this, because if you are alone you will get too frustrated and you will lose all your energy, and maybe you think that what you should do is to talk with those who have the most crazy ideas. Maybe you think that you are the one that has to defend feminism in this world, and you will get completely exhausted. You should go together with other people that want to change. You should talk to those who are closest, that also want to change, and you should build a group and you should organize, and then you continue to organize. And you choose to talk with those who thinks like you, because that gets you brave and strong.
And when you do what Gudrun says, I think you get the power, even in situations you are alone, to talk about it, and talk about it, and talk about it.
So we have a last question.
Yeah, I guess my question goes for both society, but we can focus it on the film. I'm wondering what you guys think about how we can be inclusive of those who are not comfortable defining as men and women within movies, because this debate and loads of debates are always focused upon equality, and equality is generally based upon the idea of men and women, so to say, a binary gender way of looking at it. So for example, if we would make changes within movies to give 50% of the money to men, 50% to women, how in that perspective will we include people who are not comfortable defining as men and women? Will they be forced to take part in either group to be able to take part of this money, or take part of projects that focus on men and women? I guess, yeah.
I think you have to continue with this public education, to talk about these questions. As I told you in the beginning, we don't only have these two gender, but there is a lot on the scale, and not enough people knows enough about these things as it is today, so it hasn't influenced the way that I think we will have to influence in the future. It means that the discussion has to come up much more. I think the fact that we now have trans persons more up in the air to discuss and to debate and recognize as a group that is very vulnerable, that we have to not hide anymore. That is one step, but we have to work further with this question. And that means that we have to open for not only two gender but more. And that has to affect all these kind of things that you see, that you say. But we are not there yet, but we have to work for it, absolutely.
Thank you, Andrea Edwards and Gudrun Schyman.
Thank you.